What's going on, everybody? How you doing? This is Warren Dews. I am the Vice President of Capital Region Independent Media and the publisher of the Columbia paper, the Greenville Pioneer, the Virginia News Herald, and the Times Journal. And we're here today to do, we do this thing called community conversations where we talk to different people, or get to know is one of the things we do. We do an Ask the Expert, and then we also talk to different people, just to regular people in the market, get to know them. And I'm here with a friend. First of all, I can't get this tie right. Why is my tie? The tie's messed up. There we go. We got my tie together. First, I want to talk to a new friend. Who are you?
Jackie Salvatore, Sheriff of Columbia County.
Say that again, please. Say that one more time.
Columbia County, Jackie Salvatore.
Man. Listen. I'm here to talk to my new friend. We met each other, I would say, a couple of months ago, and I got to know her a little bit. And people need to understand, I am a Black man first from the Bronx, New York, and I'm the vice president of a media company. And I share these things with you because I want people to know the reason why I'm here. Number one, I'm here because of my parents really paid attention to my life, and I'm here. But getting here was a struggle. And I want to talk to Miss Jackie, Sheriff. You've been sheriff for how many days now?
9 days.
9 days.
Yep.
So first of all, explain to everybody the historic relevance of you being sheriff. I'm gonna let you talk about the numbers, and because you're the first in a lot of things. Explain to people what the first are.
In the 400-year history of New York State, I am the first Black female sheriff in New York State history. The second female. And currently, out of 62 counties, I'm the only female sheriff as well.
So, and I bet you if you did another research on that and put it to New England and stuff, it's probably even expansive more in Massachusetts, because I live in Massachusetts.
I think nationwide there are 18.
That's crazy.
Nationwide.
That's great. So I want to talk more about that before we go anywhere else and talk about what you're going to do in your job and stuff like that. People need to understand what you just said. For you to get to this position, to be number one, a female, number two, a Black female, and not even just a person of color, I'm talking a Black female. Explain to people how you got here, because people go, oh, this, that. It's difficult to be a woman in the field you're in and a Black woman in this. Explain that to me.
Contextually, I will say that if you ask people to conjure up an image of a police officer, 99.999% of the time, they're going to draw a picture of a white male, because that's the image that comes up for most people. I can't count on both hands. I need a couple extra fingers and some toes. How many times I have been told, you don't look like a cop. And my response is, well, what does a cop look like? And I challenge them with that, because we look like me, we look like you, we look like a little bit of everyone. New York State Police has the first Sikh trooper. And I say routinely, every police agency should mirror the community it represents. In order to be effective in the different communities, you have to have people from those communities, or you risk really offending people's beliefs, their cultures, what they know to be true or normal for them is very different in other communities. So you really should have a little bit of everybody in your department, in your office, that looks like the community you represent.
So I have a mentor named Virgil Smith. I've been in this media business for 30 years. Virgil was a publisher at a paper in Asheville, North Carolina. And one of the things Virgil used to say was, your paper, nowadays, I'm not just saying print paper, but your paper, your media, local, digital, whatever, needs to be a mirror of its community. And if you can't get your newsroom as a mirror of your community, you need to definitely make sure you plug into the community where you can get to people that can help you understand what's going on. Right. So because people say, oh, I can't hire anybody. No one's, that's garbage, number one. But number two, even if you can't get the people that work for you, have relationships in the community where you start to understand the community and you can get somebody else to help you, you know.
I had people from the community of color ask me to bring job applications to election night, to my gathering for election night. So what that suggested to me was they now felt it was safe to apply, or
It's
that they
crazy.
would be included or considered.
Mhm. It's crazy. It's crazy. So you and I talked offline before, and I wanted to touch base on this. So as you see, I got my little bow tie going on or whatever, and I dress a certain way when I go out into the market because I can go out there with my business partner, and Mark Vincent Guerra, my business partner, a white gentleman. Uh, um, he could dress a certain way and be treated the same. But if I'm not dressed like this, I get treated differently.
Mhm.
And I was at an event a couple of weeks ago with a good friend of mine, and I said to us, it's kind of funny, when I dress a certain way, I get treated differently. And she said to me, what happened to everyone? Now, this is a person that fights for diversity, that believes in diversity, but she doesn't get it. I'm like, no, it doesn't happen to everyone. What do you talk about that? How people, they can have great hearts, but they just don't understand like the stuff that we go to, and then they make it kind of seem like we're like the violin, like we're whining about something, but they just don't understand explain that.
So that reminds me of an incident I went to, and it was a burglary complaint when I was in state police as an investigator. So we wore, suits, business attire when we went to work. So me and one of my fellow investigators went out to New Lebanon to this burglary complaint. I drove the vehicle. We get there, we pull into the yard, and it was this time of year, there was snow on the ground. And so we get out and we're walking around the house looking for footprints for a point of entry and that type of thing. And he walked around, they looked at him, never questioned one thing, walked over to me and said, "Who are you?" So I identified myself. Now, mind you, at this point, I'm the senior most investigator there, the designated unit coordinator. So they came to me and said, "Well, who are you?" So I said, "Investigator Salvatore." Do you have ID? So I show my credentials. And now they're looking at it, still, like looking at the thing, looking at me to make sure I was who I said I was. Now, at this point, I'm gonna do my job, but I really don't bit more care about what you got going on because you don't believe who I am. So, and plus, you never asked the white male investigator in a suit with me who he was. Glanced at him, never questioned anything, anything. So when we got in the car, I mentioned it to him, but he just kind of brushed it off as a one and done, but it was not. And so when we get back and, in further conversation, they called and wanted to know who that social worker lady was that was with him. So I was everything but a police officer. Now, fast forward a year or two after that, state police wants to do a recruiting detail, and they wanted to include a certain number of minorities in this recruitment detail. So they called and asked if I would be a part of it. And I agreed only if they gave me a uniform. And so the guys looked at me. Now, mind you, at this point, I'm the only black and only female in this unit that I was, had the most time in as well. So they, laughed. What? You don't need a uniform. And I said, you don't look like me. Yes, I do. You don't know what I am routinely subjected to, in the sense that I have to explain my position and who I am. You get to walk in it, and people just assume. But when they look at me, they don't assume I'm a law enforcement officer. Just like I routinely wear a pin that I don't have on right now because I'm in the office on my lapel that identifies me as a part of the sheriff's office, because people don't believe I am who I am. I'm grateful for the media attention, national media attention, because of the historical significance of this appointment. But when you say, what does a police officer look like? People don't say black female.
So let me ask you this, because I want to stay on this a little bit, and then we'll move on to some other things. But of course, you've heard about the new mayor in Albany. I think
Yes.
she's a second woman, but first black
Yeah.
individual to be mayor. And then I
Yeah.
think the first mayor of Sharon Owens, I think, in Syracuse,
Yes.
first Black mayor. And is it Darcy Applies? I think her name is.
Clears, I believe it's
Your
pronounced.
players, yeah, yeah. So
Mhm.
I bring them up because like this all just happened, like all these firsts. What do you think is making this happen? What's your take on that?
Well, I would hope, and especially in my case, that people are looking beyond appearance and looking at um, the experience, the appropriateness is not the word I'm looking for, but you on the campaign trail, I would always say I am a qualified, uniquely qualified applicant who happens to be Black and a female.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really important and almost necessary that we have to bring forward our experience and what we bring to the table, what we intend to do, how we plan to implement it, so that people know that there's more beyond our appearance. This DEI thing has been, nightmarish in the sense that people believe that's all we are hired for. And a couple of my friends, and I'm so grateful for them, have countered a couple of the DEI hire things tossed my way, and the response was, "She's elected, not appointed." So let's
Exactly.
get that straight. So.
Exactly.
So many people have been overlooked for so many years who have all of the qualifications, and people are like, well, why all of a sudden are these people being are being put in these positions? Because they weren't given an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
It's that simple.
So me, our media company owns a bunch of media in the capital region and beyond, and we're growing. Mark Vinciguerra, my business partner, I've known him for over 30 years. But he will tell you first, having me be a part of this company as a vice president, I'm a great salesperson. I'm great in a lot of little things, but one of the things though I bring is that different eye. I am literally able to speak to him about something he doesn't understand.
Right.
And bottom line, it helps our company in journalism. You know what I'm saying? It definitely helps. So I say all that to say, you bring a lot of knowledge, you bring a lot of experience, you bring a lot of those things. You check all those boxes. But one of the things I think people really understand and need to understand is you being a woman, you being a Black woman, you being a person of color helps law enforcement do things differently because of your experience. Explain how that in itself is going to help Columbia County move forward.
I can walk into certain communities and be accepted or be trusted more so than other people who don't have my appearance, because there is this unwritten understanding of um, just the nuances of walking, driving while Black, just those different nuances that you have to walk through in everyday life. They laugh at me when I say I don't enjoy being pulled over. I drive because I don't like being pulled over for anything. And then they chuckle, well, you're a law enforcement officer. Well, yeah, when I was driving my daughter to a dance competition, I got pulled over for speeding and 3 cars showed up. 2 on both sides of me and 1 behind me. I had no tint in the windows. And I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And then when I displayed my credentials, oh, my daughter dances too. I didn't want to hear none of that because you just scared the crap out of my kid who's sitting in the back of the car. Yeah. So
I'm gonna move on from that, and I want everybody to know, we had to talk about this. And there's people go, oh, they can always whining about those things. You don't understand what we go through as people that look like us that sit at these tables. And I'm not apologizing for us talking about it. And the fact that I'm the vice president of this company is the reason why we're talking about it, because I understand what you went through. So I understand what you went through, and unconscious bias is real. It is definitely real. So can you share some of the challenges you faced through your law enforcement career to get to this position you're at? Some of the things, give us some examples of Because there's someone right now that looks like you, and I'm not just talking about a Black person, I'm just talking about a person of color that's trying to get through their career. And it might not be law enforcement, it might be medical field, it might be different things. What sustained you to get here?
Um, Tenacity, um, not being satisfied with where I was. Um, I use this analogy that life will oftentimes hand you a bunch of crap, and you have two choices when you're in it. You can either be comforted by its warmth or offended by its stench. And I
Mm,
was offended by its stench. Um, I did well in school, and I was grateful to be able to be placed in positions where I saw people of color who had ascended into certain positions or was just simply on a financial level doing much better than I. And then I had conversations with them about how they got there and how they sustained and what it was they were intending to do. So I made it a point to um, put in the effort. And then the more I thought about it, I thought back to high school sports.
mm-hmm.
What high school sports taught me was that if you work hard and you put in the effort, you win, you realize you won because you worked hard and you put in the effort. So that really was a discipline in the sense that if you do A, B, and C, you can get to D and E. And so I always suggest people get involved in a team sport. It teaches you crisis management. It teaches you effective communication. It teaches you that discipline that you have to show up and you have to make an effort in order to get a productive outcome. And I brought that with me into the work field. I took every exam that was a promotional opportunity, and this is all pre-police.
Mm-hmm.
And as I went up the ladder, one of the exams I took was a state police exam. Never expecting to hear much from it, and then one day in the mail I get this big manila envelope. It's got a picture of the trooper in the corner. So then I had to say, okay, is this something I want to do? But had I not taken the test, it's like the lottery. You got to be in it to win it kind of thing. So I did the background, the processing, the whole thing. And when it finally came my turn, it was because someone went into the academy, decided on day 1 or 2 that this wasn't for them. So, I got a phone call and 24 hours to pack up everything and get to the academy. But the mindset then was, if I don't try, it's never going to happen unless you make an effort. You have to try.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. I live by that.
Absolutely,
I live by that.
absolutely. And
So
I'm grateful to a couple people, one who was at my swearing in ceremony, who talked me into staying because my daughter was 16 months old.
uh,
And I was away from my daughter, away from everything that I knew 5 days a week. And, got to a point where I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. And he said, you should stay. It'll be a meaningful career.
that's amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. So before we move on, you made a comment I have to touch on. You said you got an envelope and it had a person in the corner. So I'm sure it was a Black female in the picture in the corner.
It
Okay,
was
I'm just
it was a sketch of a trooper, and we would jokingly call it Trooper Tom because the superintendent at the time, and I can't remember his last name right off, Thomas Constantine
okay.
was the superintendent at the time. So we jokingly called the trooper in the corner Trooper Tom. Yeah.
Okay. So what are the top priorities for the sheriff's office during your term? What are the top things you need to do? Do you think you need to do?
Recruitment and retention,
Mm,
um, wellness because of what we're subjected to, what they see, um, and then community engagement. I think all three of those things are just critical. And the community engagement will help with the recruitment, retention, and diversity.
So what are your goals for the community engagement and building trust between you and the people?
To be more involved. Just
Mhm.
because of numbers, we've not been able to be involved in a number of things. I am making changes in our security services division and places that we have people who just kind of they're security guards for the most part. And we can use those people in other areas that will allow us to be more involved in community things. I want the community, I want the county, people in the county to know where we're going to be at during the month, so I intend to put on our page once a month, hey, these are all of the events we're going to be present at, come and visit us, come and see or support this event. And then I feel it's my job as the sheriff to go to all of them, go to the town board meetings, because in order to know what's happening, you have to have somebody there. And especially now where, there's a hiring crisis, which is nationwide in law enforcement. I need to know what we need to do, how we need to do it, who I can get to become a part of this. And then I want more women and more people of color to be knowledgeable about who I am, what I bring to the table, and how I would like this agency to look.
So one of the things I was thinking about when you said more women, more people of color, as we know, diversity is important, but you're not going to hire people just because of that. You're going to hire the best people. But what about, even like sexual orientation, things of that nature? Because that is also really important. So
very big LGBTQIA community here. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So what is your role, you believe, to be transparent? And how are you going to make sure things are transparent in law enforcement?
The only things that we really can't tell people are things that are active investigations in cases that aren't closed. That's New York State FOIL law. Anything else, we hurt ourselves and we hurt our integrity by withholding a lot of information. And oftentimes people don't understand what New York State law allows us to divulge. And if there's an active investigation going on, we can't put all the information out there because it might compromise what it is we're trying to do. What we can say, I will say. I've said that from the beginning. I've done that since I've been here, and I absolutely will continue doing that.
So as we know, everybody has a phone in their hand. Technology is crazy. You literally have a computer in your pocket. How is technology going to, you tell me, hurt or help you in your business? What are you doing to utilize this as you do your job and your staff does their jobs?
I think it's helped. So I was in state police when this idea of body-worn cameras first emerged and was coming out in police agencies. And the conversation was, oh man, this is not going to be good for us. It's really going to create a problem, and it's going to make life difficult, and so on and so forth. But in reality, what it did was save a lot of careers because everything was recorded. Everything was recorded. I also believe that it, on the other end of things, forced people to be truthful on both sides about encounters and what happened. So body-worn cameras are huge in that in some of these national events we've seen over the past few years, it has brought to light some things that absolutely need to be changed in law enforcement, and a culture in certain agencies of how they treat certain people. Absolutely. But on the other side too, it has saved a lot of law enforcement careers from, false reports and, things that being said that weren't actual or factual. And so I think body-worn cameras are a great thing.
So one of the things, if you ever fly in an airplane, they tell you if you're in there with a child and the oxygen mask pops down, that you got to put the mask on yourself first before you try to help your child. So I bring that up to ask you kind of two questions. One, You know, your officers and the people that work for you literally have life and death in their hand. You know, they go somewhere. It happened. I mean, I live in the Berkshires, and somebody went through a wellness check, and the person ended up dying because they shot at the police, and police had to protect themselves.
Mhm.
So my question to you is, what are you doing, and what can the community do to help your offices? Because listen, I'm in the media business. I'm not going 9 times out of 10. If I go to report something, I'm probably not. My life is not in danger. Well, this world's crazy now. It could be,
Mhm.
but for law enforcement, you don't know what's going to happen. You literally can go somewhere and somebody can come shooting out the house,
Mhm.
and that's stressful. What are you doing, or what do you think you need to do to help your offices maintain a balance and not get so much stress?
That's that wellness component that I mentioned along the campaign trail. Um, I have the benefit of having been a part of the employee assistance program in state police for the last 14 years of my career. And I retired as the director, the detail commander and director
Mm,
of that program. I got to see firsthand the benefit of addressing wellness and mental health and all of the things associated with it. The reality is in emergency services, you are exposed to more trauma in 2 years than most people are in their entire lives.
mm,
And so I say to people, when's the last time you went, knocked on the door, looked in the face of a parent and told them their child wasn't coming home? Or held, someone who took their last breath, or a friend of mine, took a newborn out of a dumpster, right?
mm,
Because a person, yeah, and fatal accidents. And when you walk up to a car that you pull over for speeding, you don't know if they're going to look out the window and aim a gun and shoot around at you, as happened on Route 88 with one of the troopers a couple years ago. Every day, the goal is to go home to your family.
mm,
It's not as easy as people would think. And then in a lot of those situations, you have maybe a second to respond to something that could be life or death. And so for a lot of community leaders who would argue that it's easier, I invite them to come over and take part in our simulator that's at Columbia Green Community College. Real life scenarios. We give you it's a laser pointed thing, but it's a real life simulator that shows you the amount of time that you have to respond, everything that you have to take in, and how difficult it is. And then the general public, when people call for us, it's not ever to say, hey, I'm having a pretty remarkable day. Thank you for what it is you do. There's a need.
mm,
And oftentimes it's pretty heavy. So I also feel like it's my job as a leader of this office to make sure on this side that they have what they need. Because if they're well, they show up for you better.
mm. So let me ask you another. So about almost 2 years ago, I had gastric bypass. I was 320 pounds. I'm now 230. I had to do something drastic in my life to lose the weight.
Mhm.
As I'm also a minister, and one of the things that I do, I work with a lot of people that have drug abuse, and I'm trying to help them. I've never been on drugs. I've never used drugs. So as I'm trying to help somebody and they're losing their kids because they keep going back and forth to drugs, they keep getting slipping and making mistakes. At one time, it was frustrating me because I'm like, I'm trying to help you and you keep slipping back. But when I started to realize that my food addiction, 320 pounds was, it was a problem.
Yep.
I used that food addiction to realize, wait a minute, I have an addiction too. That I wasn't learning. I had to do something drastic. I had to cut my stomach in half to lose this weight.
Mhm.
What do you need to do as far as being the sheriff to help with drug abuse and those types of programs to help people? Because people go, oh, stop, just stop. It ain't that easy.
Not
It,
that easy.
it ain't that easy. So what
It's
programs do you have to help people? Because a lot of, not a lot, I don't know the numbers, but you could probably help me with this. A lot of the things that happen in the communities with crime is a high percentage is tied to drugs,
Mhm.
you know? So if you can control and help people get off drugs, you also control the numbers of crime. Am I right or wrong? I don't.
Mhm. Yeah. So I will start with, we have a medically assisted treatment program here in the jail. So, and the numbers of people who have a substance use disorder that come in here are probably in the high 80s. And I've also been very transparent in that I have a family, immediate and extended, that is riddled with alcoholism and substance use.
Mhm.
Grew up with it, experienced it. Al-Anon literally saved my life. I've helped family members get into multiple modalities of treatment. I also did that in state police with state police members and their families, multiple modalities of treatment and follow-up. It is near and dear to my heart. If I can help one person along the way, and um, and even in state police, when I had people come in, I would give them literature along with the arrest documents so that
Mhm.
they could seek out, some resources to help them navigate this whole struggle. And I am a part of and firmly agree to continue to be a part of the recovery community in this county. And the fortunate part about this county being a small county and me living here, my life and people knowing who I am, they know my family and they know that I have been a part of this and they know that I'm aware of a lot of it. So I can have the conversations that maybe some people can't.
So you made a comment about literature. One of I have a friend. His name is Ty Jackson. Another guy named Eddie Taylor. I think I mentioned this to you before.
Mhm.
Ty owns he's a book author, children's book author.
Mhm.
And I remember years ago in the sheriff's department here in the Berkshires, they created a program where they went in and they had parents read a children's book, and they did a green screen in the back, so the parent was able to read the children's book, flip the page, and they were able to take that DVD and send it off to the child. So the child actually had the chance to read a children's book with their mother or father that is incarcerated. It was an amazing program. But
Yeah.
one of the things Ty and Eddie had to do was when they had to help these parents read this children's book.
Yeah.
They it was mind blowing. Like they couldn't read the children's book, and so they
Mhm.
they had to jump that hurdle first just to help them read the children's book.
Mhm.
So how does education and reading and those types of things affect what you do? And is there anything that your department is doing to help in that arena?
So we had a GED program here in the facility. I don't know that it is currently in place, but Questar, the uh, adult education center, is a half mile, if that, away from us. And I think there might have been an issue with them being able to get somebody over here to ensure that we could get that in place. But we had that there. We have enhanced child visits. We're the first county jail in this state to have enhanced child visits so that when a small child comes, they get to physically interact with their child. We have toys. I had them paint a wall with chalkboard paint and brought in the stuff so that they could, interact with their children. And then last year we got tablets so
Okay.
they can actually, uh, you know, have a face-to-face visit with their children via the tablets at night. So that has helped significantly.
So looking ahead, how do you envision your role as sheriff changing the next 5 to 10 years? And what do you hope your legacy will be?
Um, I hope my legacy is one of um, I like to say wellness. I want people to enjoy coming to work.
Mhm.
Um, I firmly believe that, and I said this to the unit I ran in state police. You have to take care of home first,
Mhm.
which means you have to make sure you're well. Um, you have to minister from a full cup, not a half full, because if it's half full, you need all of that for you.
Mhm.
You have to minister from the overflow. So
Mhm.
make sure that you have everything that you need in order to be able to go out and help the next person, or it's going to drain you.
Mhm.
And then one of the others is, life is like wearing a backpack, and each time you experience something that's traumatic or left unaddressed, it's like throwing a rock into the backpack. And once it gets heavy, it's going to impact everything, including your posture.
Mhm.
So we need to make sure that first we have what we need to be um, professional, um, uh, empathic, and just that effective, where we can go out and do everything that needs to be done and leave people better than how we found them, and then come back and be refueled. I want them to know that I made this place one that made them feel better about themselves and how they interact with other people. I would love to leave a legacy in this county of inclusiveness, and where people feel attracted to rather than offended by the presence of my deputies and people from this office, and that it is a place they can count on, that they know they can be involved with, and that they see us everywhere. Because that's our biggest recruiting tool, is our presence in a positive way. Or if we have to respond to something that's not positive, that they don't feel like we made it worse, or just really being public servants, which is what we are. We work, I said, they don't work for me. They work with me, and we work for the public. And that's how you gain the trust.
Listen, I truly appreciate the time you took to talk to me. I'm excited. I'm excited. Like I said, I got to know you, and I'm going to get to know you a lot more. But I'm excited and very proud to say that you are the sheriff of the Columbia County. Wanted to thank everybody for taking the time to listen. Once again, this is Warren Dews, Vice President, Capital Region Independent Media, and publisher of the Columbia Paper. And this is part of our community conversation series, Get to Know. I'll have all the links and everything in the comments. Once again, peace, everybody. Be safe.
Thank you.